So anyone we would have drawn would have been a tough one, a hard one. But I do believe that if we perform at the level that we can be tricky for any opposition. And we are capable of winning against everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast, The Bold Tackle. We are your hosts, Sophie Howard and Oliver Howard, and we are ready to tackle bold topics in sport,
highlight the women's football industry,
and speak about the unspoken.
If you are ready to get an insight into what really goes on behind the scenes, join us on our journey and listen in
to The Bold Tackle. And we are back for a new episode of our podcast, The Bold Tackle. Hi, Soph. Lovely to have you back this week.
Hi, Ollie. He's back in his living room, everyone, as everyone can see. How are you?
I'm really good. I can't complain. But it must have been one of the most exciting weeks on different levels for you this week.
Yeah, if you're talking about football, it's a great win at the weekend.
Was there something else personally that was not so exciting?
No, do you know what? I went away, we had 2 days off, and I went away to the Peaks, which was very lovely. I went with my fellow teammate. That's kind of my, I call it my safe haven because I love going to the Peaks. If we get 2 days off, we typically go. So a new sunrise walk that failed because the sun never rose because it was so cloudy.
Would that just bring you back down after hectic weekends, hectic match days, hectic training sessions? Why is it the Peaks that you go to?
I think because it's the closest place we can go to that kind of gets us away mentally. There's so many hikes and places I want to see within the Peaks, so I've still got fair few to tick off. And yes, as you said, it how would I say it? Just it enables me to switch off, and you're a little human in the big Peaks, and you forget about all sorrows and worries, as you say.
What's the nicest place been so far?
In the Peaks, probably Bamford Edge. I went there New Year's 2 years ago. One of the nicest places. We did want to go up there with Yanni, but currently, obviously, with our shoulder, we have to be a little bit careful, and we had to pick, probably easier walks.
Yeah, but easy routes are good, especially after difficult games on a weekend, and that's maybe something we should speak about today, because what an historical event. You're at the semis.
Yeah, a very big win for the team, for the club. It's the first time we've made it to the semis. History makers. But I think, as you can see in all the girls' posts on social media, we're only getting started, so to speak. It wasn't our prettiest game against Liverpool. We knew it was going to be a tough game. We've played them a fair few times now, and ironically, we discussed it in one of the previous episodes. Certainly wasn't the prettiest game, wasn't our best footballing performance, but what you couldn't doubt about that performance is that we fought. Every single player on that pitch fought for the win.
I think that's something you saw. You were a little bit nervous and there was a lot of mistakes at the beginning of the match, but you saw that you fought yourself back into the game. At the end of the day, I think you won it deservedly. Difficult question, but did you expect to go through?
We knew it was doable. We knew we were capable of. We also, however, knew we had to perform on the day. And as I said, it wasn't our best football performance, but performing also means showing up and being ready for the battle. And I think that's simply where we won the game. I spoke to one of the Liverpool girls after the game, and she said we simply didn't have fighters today, and that's what won us the game. So I think it's a very honest reflection from their side, and I think I'd probably agree. I agree with you as well. We looked a bit rusty in the first 15 minutes, maybe, of a lot of loose passes, but we fought our way back, and in the end we were clinical, and we had been missing that previously, and I think against Liverpool we showed that we can be clinical, and we were on that day, and in the end I do think we deserved that win.
And you've been on and off the starting lineup for the last couple of weeks. How was it for you to be back?
Yeah, obviously great. I always appreciate and never take it for granted if I do start. I'd almost say that I'd worked myself back into the team. And I was happy that I was given the trust, I guess, to start again. I think I used my chance, but in the end, it's up to the manager now to pick the team for the next game, and that's just how football works. But to answer your question, and it was great to be back out there from the start to finish, and then to obviously win the game, win the quarterfinals, make history with the team. It was a great feeling afterwards.
And now, in 4 weeks' time, you've got the semis. The draw drew you Tottenham. Good draw for you guys?
Yeah, certainly. I think every team that was in the draw was going to be a tough opposition. If you look at it in terms of the table, they're all above us. So anyone we would have drawn would have been a tough one, a hard one. But I do believe that if we perform at the level that we can be tricky for any opposition. And we are capable of winning against everyone. As I said many times before, we just have to make sure we perform on the day.
So the only goal now can obviously be the final. How is your preparation going to be? Are you just going to try to enjoy the semis as it is one of these historical events? Or is it full on, we're going to go through?
The thing is, we've got a fair few league games in between. So for now, the focus switches back to the league competition. But 100%, when we get to the week where we're preparing for the game against Tottenham, the semi-final, yes, we're going to prepare to win that game to go to the final. That is the ultimate goal, 100%. But we also want to enjoy the occasion of the semi-final because we haven't been there yet. We've made history. We haven't been at a semi-final yet, and we want to enjoy it. But the ultimate goal and the target for that day will be to get the win and to advance to the final, because that is the final at Wembley that every player wants to play at.
And you've never been there either, obviously. And the stadium's at the moment sold out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all tickets are I guess, available to the public, if that's the way of saying it, are sold out. I think you've got like family tickets or whatever, but obviously they can only be assigned once the two teams that are going to the final are determined.
And how amazing it would be to be in front of a crowd like this. I was at a game here in Germany, Cologne against Werder Bremen, Frauen-Bundesliga, Women's Bundesliga here on this weekend, and to see 30,000 people cheering for two teams, which they don't have on a week-to-week basis. You just saw that extra bit of oomph, extra bit of fight to get that ball, and it'll be the same at Wembley. It'll be amazing if you do make it.
Yeah, 100%. I think the number of spectators would probably be higher than the game that you went to. But talking about the game that you went to, we're talking about the two teams that are not in the top three, and they're selling out their stadium. They've got 30,000. This is a big sign of where women's football is going, and also a big sign of, if the marketing is right, what can be achieved. Of course, it's a one-off in a sense of they don't get these numbers every week, but let's celebrate that this happened.
Absolutely, and I think you're making a good point. This is, again, the point that I try to make in a lot of our talks. Patience is needed. You talked about a one-off 30,000, but why don't we start it like this? One-off a season, then we'll do it every half a year, then we'll do it every quarter, until you get the crowd to come on a regular basis. And then, Sophie, we spoke about it, there's a lot more money in the game for women's football. Then salaries can rise, and it's going to get even more professional. You can put more money into investment, into grassroots, and then we'll get there. We just need to be a little bit patient.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and I'll start smiling because I do believe you should propose this to everyone involved in football, because sometimes I think we think too far ahead, or maybe we want to skip a few steps, but we want to grow the game sustainably, and for that we need to be patient, as you've mentioned a couple of times.
So congratulations for the entry into the semi-finals, but there's the second congratulations you need, which is your B license, which you just got for managing a football team.
Yeah, thank you. It was a stressful couple of weeks completing that B license.
How long did it take you?
Well, obviously we'd started ages ago, 18 months ago or something. But in the end, we had 3 weeks to complete the whole project, which was during international week. I think it was 2 weeks actually, which makes it sound insane. But which was during international, so on camp, bless the girls, I was every spare second I was on my laptop doing my project. in the end, I passed it, which is great, which is, I don't want to say something else ticked off the list, but it's another stepping stone, I'd say.
And it puts something else on your list as well, because now you're going to go for the A license, right?
Yeah, I have applied for the A license. Whether I get in or not is a different story. But I have, immediately after completing the B, I applied for the A. And that's probably where the time pressure came from, because the window was closing for the application, which we were only told 2 weeks before it actually closed. And therefore we had a lot of pressure. But yeah, that's the next step, and we'll see what happens.
Why wouldn't they let you in?
Yeah, because the number of applicants exceeds, I guess, the spots they have for the course.
Crossing my fingers.
Yeah. Thanks.
And the third congratulations.
Oh, geez.
A couple of days late, but a happy Women's International Day.
Oh, thanks.
Because we've seen a lot of posts on all social media platforms. In Berlin, in Germany, just so you know, it's a bank holiday. What does Women's International Day mean for you?
In the end, for me, it's a day to celebrate all women in life, from the smallest to the biggest achievement. I think for a lot of people, it's about inspirational women. For me, it's about celebrating the people that are my rocks, the women in my life that are my rocks, and that's Mum and Sam. But in the end, it's about celebrating women in general. I think as women, we've fought for our entire life to be accepted, and we are still fighting. We're still on a journey, but it's lovely to have a little day where we get celebrated.
I think the world has come very far if we compare it to the last 50, 60 years, whatever. But I have the feeling it's starting to become very negative against men, against what the world is like. And I think it's a bit of a shame, because we've stopped focusing on celebrating where we've come and where we're going to go. And obviously we still need to be patient, because not everywhere in the world you have the same level of respect for women and development. But I do think we've come very, very far. And if we look at the West and probably Germany and the UK, there's nothing a woman can't do that a man can do. Still, there's some inequalities. Oh, we've come very, very far. And I think that's something to be really proud of and to celebrate, and not only focus on the negatives.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And celebrating women doesn't mean men aren't celebrated or respected or appreciated at all. You can celebrate women and still appreciate men for what they do as well. That should never take away. One should never take away from the other. Do you know, I've experienced since moving to the UK that International Women's Day is massive over here. Maybe it's me getting older and therefore maybe being exposed to it more, or
and it developed in the last couple of years, Sophie.
Yeah, probably that as well. I'm good. As you said, I think we have to be sensitive in a sense of this development hasn't happened everywhere in the world, but we also have to realise that cultures maybe don't want this development, and women in other cultures probably don't see that as necessary. We don't know. Like, I don't know enough about other cultures where women don't have the same rights, I'd say. But all I can say is I think it's a great day to celebrate women in life, in everything they do.
Did you do something special?
No, we had match day -1, and then we travelled to Liverpool.
Nice. That's the way to spend it. But you spend it with a lot of women on the bus.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of inspirational women as well in different ways, which was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. We've only spoken to one so far, but I think over the due course and over time, we'll be speaking to many other people within the club, within your team, within your surroundings, environment. It was really good to hear from all sorts of different people, not just about women, but about sport, about coach development, as we did in the last episode. It's just great to get all this different input from all different sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's always what we say. Like, we can share our life stories, we can share our opinions, but there's a few things we can't provide in terms of insight. And Sarah last week was a great, not only opportunity, but a great example of an insight, a perspective that we can't provide. But I think that is partially what we do. We get people together that can provide that insight. the same when we had Janice Keeman on. The amount of silverware she's won, I can't provide that, and I'm going to be completely honest about that. So that's why I'm like providing Janice to all the listeners that she can share her story, and in the end, that's what it's about, isn't it?
And this year we're going to aim for the first silverware in the English FA Cup, aren't we?
Whoop whoop. That we will have a special episode. If this, let me rephrase it. When this happens, we will have a special episode celebrating the first silverware for Leicester City since being promoted to the WSL.
That'll be good. We'll get a lot of the team members on then.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll have a little group call. That would be quite cool, actually.
I think so too. How did you celebrate? Do you actually go out and party, or do you just off to the next game?
We were in the next game for recovery, which was quite important. We were always scheduled to have off Monday and Tuesday because the game was on Saturday. We were in on Sunday. It was very, I guess, respectful because we moved training quite early because it was Mother's Day here in England as well on Sunday. And obviously with Aileen, we've got our first kind of mum within the team.
God, really a lot to celebrate last week.
Yeah, we had a lot to celebrate. It was quite funny because our mum rang mum on Sunday morning at like 7 a.m. and she was like half asleep and she goes, "What?" I was like, "Oh, Mummy, happy Mother's Day." And because she kind of not forgot, but obviously it's a different day in Germany. I'm pretty sure that way I reminded her to ring her mum. Here you go, you're welcome, mum. But yeah, so as you said, we had lots to celebrate. But after the game, we celebrated on the bus. We celebrated with the fans after the game, which was great. But then, do you know, after the game like that, you're quite exhausted, mentally drained, because we also knew the importance of that game, you know. And I had a few people over here after the game, but it was just we got some food in and that was about it. But a few girls went out for dinner as well. But I wouldn't call it a big going out party because we had training the next day.
So what's up for you next? What's up for the next week?
We play Spurs on Sunday. Next away game.
Ooh,
so that's always
practice before middle of April.
Yeah, it feels a bit bizarre since that draw. We drew Spurs just this morning, and now we also know that we're playing them at the weekend. Obviously, a different competition, but it's always hard to play two games against the same opposition so close to one another. But that's football. We also played Everton 2 games, one after the other. You know, on a Wednesday and a Sunday. So we've been there before, and in the end, on the day, the better team hopefully will win.
Do you prepare differently for the matches? Do you try to do different things in tactics so you're not so predictable, or is it just as usual? I mean, they can analyse you game after game, so they more or less know or should know what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I guess if they do the homework the way we do it, they should know what we do. Obviously, in every game plan, we'll have different solutions. In the end, it's up to the manager whether we change it or not. Not a clue yet because we're recording Tuesday now, and our first session back will be tomorrow, Wednesday. So if we were recording this in 24 hours, I could probably tell you more, but it's up to the manager now.
So we're really excited to see what happens this weekend with Tottenham. But we got one question from a listener this week, which we'd just like to highlight that if you do have questions, please just send them through Instagram or through our email. Sophie, what's our email?
theboldtackle@gmail.com.
Perfect. And if you send a message there, we'll try to highlight it in one of the next episodes. But he asked us, and I think it's quite fitting after a very difficult Liverpool match, and obviously the next upcoming matches, who was your toughest opponent and why? And that'll be my last question for today before we end it.
Probably this season, I'd probably say Sam Kerr was very tough to play against.
Why?
However, I think why she was so tough to play against because the rotation between the players around her and herself was so good. So you weren't only defending Sam Kerr, you were defending 3 players that were constantly rotating, which is so difficult to do. But that was probably my toughest challenge this season, I'd say.
Yeah. And if we talk about your footballing career in general, it must have been me when we went out on the pitch behind the house.
Yeah, I think in my childhood, I was quite scared playing against you. The skill level was out of this world, but unfortunately, you never got scouted.
I know that. Great. Thank you very much, Soph. Thank you very much for everyone else listening in. Great ending to this episode. A lot to celebrate again, Soph. Congratulations for all the achievements this week, and I'll see you again next week.
Thanks. I didn't expect all these congratulations, but Thank you. And thanks for all the listeners again. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.